All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Inspired Content. There we go. Can we focus, please? So this is a review for the Peter Pan novella. I don't know where the cutoff is for that, but I'm doing a little differently now. I'm trying to do reviews first, and then so the review for Peter Pan, the book, is today. And then on Tuesday, we're doing Views Day, which is a live reaction to movies. And then Wednesday, I will do the creative prompts inspired by Peter Pan. And then Thursday, I will do a review of a movie. And then Saturday will be the creative prompts inspired by the movie. Still figuring out what we're doing with Friday. And then Sunday is a review of the week to come. And then every night I have my live creative projects that I work on. This week I'm working on some dessert recipes. Anyway, so Peter Pan, the novel, and I will try to link to where you could purchase it, mainly because I do think it's one of those stories that we all think we know, but I was so surprised by some elements of this. It's like, really? There are aspects of this that are kind of dark, and I didn't think that it was like that when I, remember Peter Pan as being sort of like a children's story. I guess it's a children's story in the same sense that the original Little Mermaid is, or the original Red Riding Hood. These have some darkness to them, and I was not expecting to see some of that in Peter Pan. But I do think it's sort of it still has some of that, I want to say, naivete, where, like, it's not really naivete. It's more like the idea that many of the characters live in a way that suggests that there are no consequences. But there are legitimate, like, real consequences. There are people who die in this book. And there are people out to murder each other in that book. And there are good people who, out of jealousy, seek to kill other good people. Like, what? Like, what? And it's sort of got, like, but it has an element of, like, it's the pettiness that only children can have, writ large on the scale of survival and warfare feeling. And so it's like, some of it caught me off guard. And I feel like some of it, like, I always thought of it as a children's story, but some of the early parts, the discussing of Wendy and her brothers being part of the Darling family, and the situation of the parents, like, some of that's making a fairy tale of the actual struggles of being poor in the Victorian era. And it's sort of like a comedic satire of the over seriousness of the world too. I mean, there's an aspect of it that actually I find kind of funny, as it might relate to internet celebrity. Honestly, I mean, it's clearly written well before internet existed, but the concept of a nobody who's like a family that's nobodies with not enough money or fame or fortune to be able to make it through the month on a regular basis. So they budget and they calculate, and like if we skip this and we do away with that, we might be able to get away with doing this and do that. And then comes the time where the children go missing and they beat themselves up about it. And the father character, he actually ends up punishing himself in a silly, absurd way. And because of the consequences of his self-imposed punishment being visible to people in the outside world, they acquire a sort of celebrity. And the celebrity sort of changes how they move within social circles. And it's sort of interesting to see. It's essentially, out of guilt, a guy did something that went viral, and that virality is changing their lives and could result in a better circumstance that would have prevented the circumstances that led to the circumstances. And it's just like this whole weird play on it. And I think that's and that's really like early on in the book. I think that's a really interesting play on some of the like timelessness that occurs around what essentially would be a virality of whatever they're doing. Like what we do in our world and what they do in their world, they're different, but not as different as we think they are. And then there's the whole aspect of Neverland, which honestly, I feel like is that, I mean, is it the first occurrence in literature of imaginary land that people go live on and have adventures on? And it's mostly kids. I mean, there's a part of me that feels like it's reminiscent of what we as kids think Disneyland will be. But I find it fascinating that there are elements of it that still sort of hold up with a little adjusting to the way we think about the world today. Kids, families, economics, virality, all elements that are at least touched on partly in here. And I think and if your only experience with Peter Pan is the cartoon, the Disney cartoon, or some other element of it, then you're missing a lot. I feel like the book has enough in it that it was such a novel experience for me. Like, I thought I knew the story of Peter Pan, and there are just whole parts of it that I just didn't realize. So I would definitely rate this a 5.2 out of 5. 5.6. 5.2 out of 5.6. I think that it's a good book. It's worth reading. It's a good sense of where the story comes from and the things that you'd be missing if you didn't read the book. Having said that, I don't know that I don't think it's a book that I'm going to reread over and over again. Although I do kind of like some of the illustration techniques that they used in this book. Very ink blotty. See if I can find another one. It's a very kind of it's an interesting place to be. It's not what we would consider today's children's books to be. But at the same time, I don't feel like it's an adult or a young teen book. I would say that, it would be a fair preteen book. So overall, I enjoyed that. And you've lost focus again. Why do you do this? It's not that hard to stay focused on me. All right. Well, with that note, I will get to work on getting ready for the Views Day tomorrow night. I'm going to do the live video tonight as a pre-recorded because cooking things is a little more difficult than I anticipated on a live camera that does this all the time. And then I will have the creative prompts for Peter Pan on Wednesday. I am going to do a review for Avengers Infinity War and Endgame on Thursday, and the creative prompts on Saturday for that. If you're interested in seeing any of that, you can subscribe down below and get notifications when those videos go up. Or you can go over to my channel and check them on a regular basis. And thanks for joining me for this one. I will see you later. Take care.